All right, we're going to be talking about OCD and dating, basically my then versus now. Obviously, I'm going to start with the then. Let's set the scene. I have scrupulosity OCD. It's very religious-oriented, moral-oriented. Obviously, a lot of religious factors were involved in boys, where I was just like, okay, I can't date them, can't kiss them, can't sleep with them, nothing. I've always had OCD symptoms from the time I literally was born. Like, I cannot remember a time when I didn't have it. But it turned really bad about 13. But before that, in elementary school, I had not one, but two boyfriends. Not at the same time, obviously. Please. To be honest, I don't really remember having relationship OCD during this time, probably because it was completely platonic, basically. It was a boyfriend in name only, so I had my very first kiss when I was 13. I was with my cousin and my sister, and I was like, I'm gonna get my first kiss tonight. Feel free to join me, because that's happening tonight. And I had it in my head, and when I say something, I'm gonna do it. Honestly, it was probably a compulsion now that I think about it, because I was like, I can't leave without doing this. It just so happened that there was a group of guys, like, similar to our age, and mind you, braces, really frizzy hair. I was in a really cute sundress, I think. You know, really bright pink lipstick. You know, it was a look. I just went up to them and I was just like, I really want my first kiss. Will one of you guys kiss me? And, you know, you're always told when you're younger that guys are just gonna absolutely jump at the chance. The first word out of one of the guys' mouth, mind you, there was like 7 of them, and they were sitting on like these stairs, was, I'm gay. You would think that would discourage me, but no. The confidence I had at 13, I was like, who's next? And then the next guy was just like, I have a girlfriend. We were there for like a good 5 minutes. And finally I'm like, okay, can one of you guys just like kiss me? The one guy I didn't want to kiss, who had like this orange cast on because I didn't like the color orange because it was contaminated, got up and he was just like, I'll step up to the plate. And I was like, oh, my savior. And he kissed me and I was like, oh my God, thank you. And then like we bolted, we ran. It took me probably a minute and a half to be like, what did I just do? And my intrusive thoughts to just start. And I was like, that didn't count, right, guys? Like, it's just funny, but that like didn't count as like my first kiss, right, guys? But all this stuff. They're like, I counted. I'm pretty sure I counted. We get home. I tell my mom, furious. Mind you, I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to be setting a good example, and I'm out kissing random boys on the street. Or so it seemed. My mom was so disappointed in me. She's like, you gave it away, all this stuff. So obviously, as somebody with OCD, my world just crashed and burned. My dad thought it was hilarious. He was like, honestly, I love this because, you know, it teaches you a lesson, but all this stuff. My dad was stoked. He was probably like, my daughter's never gonna kiss a guy again, you know? And he was pretty much right. That experience terrified me to the point where I basically just did not speak with men. I did not flirt with men. I barely even talked to men. When I was 13, because my OCD was starting to become really bad, I also was not even really talking to people. I remember also having this thought in my head being like, you should not get into a relationship because you yourself are not okay, you know? And I had that at a really young age, which is kind of wild if you think about it. I didn't have my next kiss until 18, and God love this man. He is so sweet. He's so kind. We went bowling and then we did Pokemon Go, and he kissed me in the car, and I got home and I panicked. It was basically like having PTSD from my first kiss. The trauma. You would have been convinced I went to war. Like, that's how intense I was feeling. Like, oh my God, I just did the worst thing ever. I remember like doing my workout and just like starting to cry. Like, I felt like I wasn't going to heaven. Like, I felt like all of these things were just like piling onto me. I ghosted the poor kid. He's happily engaged and I think married now. Can't say enough good things about that man. He called me when I went to college as well. Ended it. Like, my OCD contaminated him so hard that I never spoke to him again. So I got into college, and once again, every single experience that I've had kissing people has not turned out well. So I'm avoiding it like the plague. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. To me, men weren't worth it. This was all throughout college as well. Like, when people are going, having fun, like partying, but all this stuff. And I started staying in. I started going to my grandfather's for the weekend, and we would go to like his Irish dances with people who were like 80 and above. So we're gonna flash forward now. I just dropped out of college and I'm in the treatment center for my OCD, and I learned about exposure and response prevention therapy. I learned about it and I was like, oh wait, I can totally implement this into my dating life. And so I kind of started doing that. Not a lot though, because I had bigger fish to fry. My OCD, there were other issues there. So I was mainly focused on that. But I very much did start going on dates, start like kissing boys. Intimacy was still a huge like trigger point for me and a huge factor. But I was really trying to overcome all of those kind of obstacles of my block with with men. So I moved to Ireland. This is about a year after the treatment center, and I started genuinely having like my first crushes, the first people that I really liked. And I would have these guys that I would deem as like safe men, basically men that could not really be contaminated. And I had this thought in my head, the man that I fall in love with, I won't have any compulsions or contaminations with. But I started noticing a common theme, like those safe people, my brain would latch onto. It would almost become like obsessed with them, and like they would be on a constant loop in my brain. I still was going on dates with other people. I still was trying to expose myself. I still was trying to kind of overcome that, but it wasn't really that much of a thing yet until I met my ex. And my ex made me really nervous, and he made me really scared, and he made me really upset. And because of that, I went towards that, because I was taught before that if I felt that way, to go towards what was making me feel that way. So I consistently always thought it was my fault with what was happening, until I started opening up to people about it, and they were like, oh my god, no, that's abuse. And I was like, no way, you're kidding. But very long story short, after I broke up with my ex 2.5 years ago, I went crazy on the apps. I went on so many first dates. Not many made it to second ones, but I remember just trying to purposely go on dates with as many different types of people as I could, because I'm like, you know what, I just want to know, what do I like, what do I not like, what interests me, what doesn't, what's contamination, what's not, those type of things. So I've been doing that for 2.5 years. I always joke that I'm like a one date wonder. Dating apps are contaminated to me, but I still am on Hinge. And I went on my very first date this year with a guy from Hinge, and I remember kissing him, and in my head I was like, oh my gosh, that means that my dating life for the rest of the year is going to be bad. Like, I don't even really think about that anymore. I actually kind of forgot about it until I brought it up right now, but luckily, thank god, thank goodness for ERP. So I just want to really quickly go through some of the wins that I have now with my OCD, and some of the things that I'm currently still working on. Some of the wins: I'm able to go out with anybody, even if they're completely contaminated. I'm able to kiss contaminated people. I've done that before. Even if the guy I'm talking to I've deemed contaminated, I'm still able to talk about things that I want to talk about, like my job, my family, and I'm not worried about their contamination seeping into that. I've also worked so hard to get to the point where I feel like I'm a good partner and like a good enough person to like date. And obviously there's still a little bit of a struggle there, like an internal battle, but for the most part, like I know kind of what I deserve, and oh my god, that sounds so cheesy, but like what I should expect in a relationship, and basically like you should get kind of back what you're giving. I'm able to meet people out, have conversations, they're able to say trigger words to me, and I don't emotionally contaminate them. Every once in a blue moon somebody will be contaminated, but it's really not that deep. I know it's just like a mental block, but people will say things, like words themselves do not cause me to contaminate people anymore if they say something that scares me or triggers me. Very big wins on this end. So I'm able to date very normally. Here's where I'm struggling, and that's when I start to like somebody. I still have the loop in my brain. I still have the guys that would probably be more emotionally unavailable, but and those men are for some reason always the one that make me feel safe. Maybe because I feel like I want to be free and stuff. I don't know. There's probably a bunch of little psychoanalyzing things that you can do with that. Another thing that I struggle with is it my OCD, or do I actually not like them? Is it my gut? Is it my OCD? Is it my intuition? Is it my OCD? Luckily with that, I've involved like friends and family to just see what their thoughts are. They're very aware of giving me reassurance and stuff like that, and they ultimately, I make the decision of if it's OCD or if it's not. For the most part, I do actually have good intuition, but it can just be confusing sometimes. I've also gotten to a point where I don't feel like I have to just go on a date with anybody. I can be more picky and specific now, because I do know what type of person I like and what qualities I'm looking for. So that's honestly a huge win for me. And the only other thing I'm really working on is just like being more open, and I still have like a bit of like an intimacy thing where I have a bit of a block with it sometimes, and it's really something that's like still very important to me. To this day, I don't know if that's like an OCD thing, or if that's like a religious thing, or if it's genuinely just something that means a lot to me. Those are like the only things that I'm kind of like iffy on, but I've typically always been able to figure out at the end of the day what I want from somebody, and I haven't really regretted anything I've done so far dating wise. Even my ex, I don't regret it. I don't regret a day of that, because I learned so much. I learned exactly what I don't want. So, and then going forward, I'm learning exactly what I don't want and what qualities I'm like I really admire. I'm like, I want that quality. It's just been kind of a really fun thing for me to do the last 2.5 years. I think that's also why I kind of love being single, because it's always been like a bit more like fun and curiosity and like figuring things out. So it's like I've been single for 2.5 years, and I haven't really wanted a relationship. I haven't really cared enough to get into one, and it hasn't been for emotional contamination reasons. It's been genuinely because I'm like, oh no, I want something more than that, or I genuinely am having fun with my friends and fun with my life, and like not there. I don't feel like a huge part is missing. Every once in a while, obviously I do, but for the majority of my life, I really don't, and I'm really happy, and I feel really blessed to be where I am. So that is kind of my little dating stuff with my OCD. If you are somebody that you know is struggling with OCD, I cannot recommend to go to NOCD.com enough. You can also book a free consultation call with them today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.